Similarly subversive and ironical, his most recent works, formed in 2008, depict pimp UPS, concretely dealing with everyday processes of aesthetization. Thus, Johann Schrallhammer's superdimensional plastic hairbrush pillows with nylon bristles in the form of a square panel painting allude to the tradition of concrete Kunst. It began in the 1950s, when artists such as Lucio Fontana, Piero Manzoni, or Gotthard Graubner declared the surface material to a leading theme, marking the birth of this autonomous aesthetical event. In descendants and critical reflection of these purest appendages of post-war times, artists have been and still are attributing the most various everyday materials to the fundaments of the panel painting today. Sylvie Fleury, for instance, laughingly reconstructed the avant-gardistic positions of the manly art icons Mazzoni and Mondrian in her squaresque panel paintings covered with fur and flocati. The artist Simone Westerwinter from Stuttgart put up checked material on stretcher frames following the slogan Education through Decoration, and in 1990, the Swiss artist John Armleder transformed everyday objects and materials he found at the flea markets bearing the name furniture sculptures into works of high art. With Pimp Up, Johann Schrallhammer continues to write the self-reflecting reflection of the concrete Kunst with skilled irony. Pimp Up is an expression of the metaphorical rapprochement of art to workday life that has been Johann Schrallhammer's main concern throughout the years. In true sense, the chewing gum sculptures which were drawn from life itself made the visitors fans of mile running, fussball European Championship Switzerland/Austria, voluntary and involuntary teammates. The chewing gum sculptures had a great response which was acknowledged to him by the visitors of football game. Over 1,000 participants were gathered and melted by help of one maskine in mass, colored, and in a still warm state, as a biomorphal sculpture, installed in a specific site. Energetic space sculptures which arose, brought together the taste of masses and high art, recipients as well as inner cages. Truly out of the blue are also his chewing gum sculptures. Johann Schrallhammer cracks jokes on art and on our everyday lives in an ironically subversive way. Turnaround are the title of his newest inventions. Coke and cooking pot, leaning on the traditional preamble of a world which is upside down, this autodidactic artist has created the opposite side of material reality by literally turning the inner contents of a Coke tin can and those of a cooking pot inside out. Instead of looking at a Coke can with screaming white red Coca-Cola initials, we can now hold a bleached, perfect Polish tin can in our hands and shake our heads at the sight of a cooking pot with its handle as well as the enamel coating turned inside out. Johann Schrallhammer's inside-out masterpieces incite our imagination and provoke old traditional Bavarian proverbs similar to expressions such as great body, but no brains and knowing someone inside out. These cultural proverbs refer to the invisible inner contents or even values and the visible cover, which have seemed to have lost their equilibrium in modern times. In the course of the technicalization and redevelopment of our society, the relationship between an invisible inner centerpiece and a visible front part has mutated to a hypocritical polish. With regard to an exhausting aesthetic expansion on surface structure, Wolfgang Welsch, which extends from individual stylization to residential and urban design, the innermost soul of man has been not too pushed against a wall or has even been suppressed completely. Parallel to this phenomenon, psychologists agree that the congruence of the internal and the external is existential. Similar to social theme parties, today, many people have to just start to learn to become aware of their inner feelings and realizing them in seminars and workshops following the motto self-competence. Anthroposophists are also familiar with the term eversion in terms of describing evolution and consciousness. Furthermore, many standard-type processes of living things are based on the principle of eversion. For example, we can see this by observing the embryonic development of green algae or the human body, where aversive forces are at hand while our organs develop. Duchamp has been overstated, said Joseph Beuys, due to the fact that already at the beginning of the 20th century, Duchamp had introduced objects such as the fountain, a man's pissoir, or the bottle dryer, a French water-saving appliance, as ready-mades into the world of arts in a mere material sense, without going further in developing his own visions of the art term, without placing passionate question marks on the fine arts. Different from Duchamp, the symbolist artist Buys used objects and materials as parts of the human soul and energetic body, to actively illustrate formats of the mind and experiences in them. Johann Schrallhammer's eversions tie in with Joseph Buys and bring the everyday dance of objects back to life in a humoresque way that makes sense.